Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
I've tried to lay off and not react, rather try to respond, and I know Malcolm knows way more than I do, but the visceralness of, if that's a word, of what happened is just, shaking and it's disturbing. And then I agree with kind of Patton Oswalt's tweet that they're simultaneously, we can disagree on causes of things, but the way things are handled, I'm not a Netanyahu fan, and I'm not a Hamas fan.
Thank you. I've been saying that all week. Let me just, Carlos, because we're going to have the hour with you, but Malcolm, sorry, thank you so much for sticking with us, because literally everything was Malcolm stack this week, because you're not just a terrorism expert, but there's just so many facets to what's happening. And one of them that you tweeted about, somebody said the BLM chapter in Chicago just posted this in support of Hamas, and it's somebody parachuting with the I Stand with Palestine. And you just said, God, this is not hard, guys. These chuckleheads are not a BLM group. They are, a BLM group, not all supporters of the BLM concept. Call out the individual idiots. Don't tar 48 million African Americans who support the phrase BLM, GFC. Everybody calm the F down. It's just like you're saying, all these factions are trying to score political points right now, right?
And that opened up a bag of worms. I had dozens of people saying, well, you said Black Lives Matter weren't terrorists from the right-hand side. And then from the left-hand side, they were saying, well, we stand with the free peoples of Palestine. This isn't about the people of Palestine.
Correct.
Yeah.
The people of Palestine in Gaza are captives.
Yeah.
They are in a prison which was run by a terrorist group. That apparently, this is amazing. They are supported by a Shia government of Iran. They are Sunni Muslims, and for the sake of mass murdering any person they stumbled upon within the border of Israel, right? They've kept their own population captive.
Yep.
You can stand with Palestine, you can stand with Israel, you can stand with the Jews, you can stand with the Muslims, but you cannot stand with Hamas.
Yeah.
Hamas is a terrorist group. So what are the idiots that Black Lives Matter Chicago does? Which, by the way, is their own name of their own selves, and they represent nothing else.
Yeah. Is
they put a picture of a paraglider skydiver on their picture with the Palestinian flag on it.
Yeah.
I hope that they were completely unaware that 50 paragliders sailed into that festival, the Nova Festival, gathered up and mass murdered 260 people.
Right.
So either you support that tactic, because why else would you have used that picture if you didn't know it?
It's very
in fact, you're not doing Palestinians any favors.
48 million African Americans and all of our other people who support the phrase Black Lives Matter. Yeah. There is no Black Lives Matter organization that's centralized.
Yeah.
So now everyone's getting tarred with their stupid brush.
Well, and you're not doing Palestinians any favors saying you stand with Hamas. Hamas is not Palestinians. And
I might be parsing this too much, but if a child is born in Palestine, they're not a prisoner. They have committed no crimes.
No.
Is it fair to say it's more of a concentration camp? Because they have not committed any crimes. If they're born into it, they're children.
The funny thing is that you have a concentration camp which has a series of guards around it that are internal. Hamas took control of Gaza 17 years, determined they would be the only authority. They beat the Palestinian Authority out. That was the OG, PLO that went to peace. When they went to peace, Hamas went to war. And they have spent all this time keeping everybody there as essentially a slave system to support this activity. Now, let's be honest, Hamas will not survive this encounter. Every man that touches a gun, every person that touches a gun there is going to be eliminated. The problem is, like we did in Fallujah, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage. But in Fallujah, we actually took 6 months working with the Iraqis to remove 90% of the population of the city. And 11,000 civilians still got killed because 3,000 terrorists would not let them out and decided to use them as human shields and, got in the middle of warfare. That's what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Hamas must be eliminated.
Yeah, speaking of dumb right-wing takes in the U.S., not only do you have Hawley and the other Putin apologists saying, let's stop aid to Ukraine to give it to Israel, you've got...
So we could do it again in Ukraine? So you could have another Mariupol, mass murder, beheadings, rapes, killings? But I don't understand them. So now suddenly lives that are in Eastern Europe that are against Moscow are disposable.
Yeah.
Or not, or are they equal to every lost life in Israel, Palestine? They're all equal. Yeah. But amazing, the two factors that are there, Iran and Russia, just happen to be at the back of both of these.
Thank you.
Surprise!
I was bringing up, you brought up guns, and Franklin Graham saying every Israeli should be forced to carry an AR-15. I don't know if, speaking of dumb take, I don't know if you saw the one story, the couple, man and woman, they're both officers in the Israeli army, have guns at home. The terrorists came in, Hamas terrorists came in and killed, they saved all their children, they hid them, but they were killed. I mean, they're highly trained officers in the Israeli army that had guns. It's just, the people using this to score dumb political points here, like Franklin Graham, I just think are despicable.
You know what? Okay, full disclosure. Lived in Israel, almost married an Israeli, spent time in that region for decades. You cannot walk around your whole life like it's Dodge City, which, by the way, that's not a good analogy. Dodge City had a no-gun policy in the city. This is a fantasy of the right wing where every person has an AR-15 and patrols around with it. In Israel, you see a lot of guns because they are all reservists going back and forth to their jobs, going back and forth because the country's the size of a very small part of the Northeast United States with almost 1 million man army and reserve force. Yeah. So you see a lot of guns. This is a right-wing fantasy.
One degree of Israeli separation. I almost married an Israeli tank commander, and this is magically full circle to Carlos. We thought she had a crush on you. Remember, Carlos? She would come in the studio while we were recording bits.
Yeah, I might have before I had kids and it was a Burbank dad. Who knows? But was this just to go back and you probably discuss this? How is this massive security breach? How did this happen? With Israel being what we perceive to be really great at security and intelligence.
Listen, when I was a counterterrorism instructor, one of the most incredible, feasible, deadliest plans to attack the U.S. Navy was thought up by two junior petty officers. That's like, corporals in a counterterrorism class I had. It was so inventive, so adaptive, so clever. Not only did I destroy their papers, I have never spoken about what that plan was. If it got in the hands of a terrorist group, the imagination can bring someone to do something. Hamas understood all the strengths of Israel and decided to use asymmetric warfare, which is judo, against Israel. You set up all these fences, right? What we're going to do is we're going to practice breaching those fences. And when are you at your least effective? On your Sabbath morning. You have the minimum number of personnel. Can I point out to you, Pearl Harbor was on Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. This attack was on Friday morning, their Sabbath, at 6:30 a.m. Yeah. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Nagasaki was at 8 in the morning, or Hiroshima was 8 in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's a reason these things are done this way. It was a failure of imagination, the way we failed. But this is the equivalent of the United States being attacked by 30,000 terrorists.
Yeah.
Terrorists are clever and inventive. And if they can keep their mouths shut, they can carry out horrific mass murders. I said this. I said, with the exception of hijacking an aircraft and crashing it, every act of terrorism that had been carried out against Israel, hijacking cars, buses, landing commandos, shooting up police stations, ever since the founding of Israel, was carried out by Hamas in one day. I'm literally going through. The only thing that I haven't seen is the donkey suicide bomb from southern Lebanon. But they've done just about everything else.
We got to keep in mind.
Which means that they've harnessed their entire history to carry this out.
But they're a country of, 9-10 million, right? And we're 330
not
million.
Million, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the scale of this is really astounding. One last one, Malcolm. You held up your very first book on terrorism, and I just want to bring this full circle to your latest book. They Want to Kill Americans. And it just goes to this tweet by Liam on Twitter that I saved for you. Some of the Hamas terrorists were religious fundamentalists, but a lot of them are just young, pathetic, little bloodthirsty nihilists who want to burn everything down because their lives suck. It's the same problem America has with the basement-dwelling maggots. And I thought if ever a tweet was written for you, it brings you full circle to your book here and how this is all of a piece. Just talk to us about that.
It's so true. It's so true. And the only difference is, in the United States, you can self-start as a terrorist. You can just go out and get a gun and think up an act and do it. Or you can get together with a bunch of rubes and try to overthrow the government as you listen to a cult leader. Hamas is an organization. You can't have an AK-47 unless you're part of the terrorist group, unless you're a trained member, unless you are given a specific assignment and work together with a cell. That's the difference. The American one is disparate, and it's not been organized. But when it does, it already organized around a cult-like ideology. And that's why I made many analogies to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, right down to those truck parade and boat parades. Okay? I mean, what you're doing is you are projecting ideological power in order to infiltrate the mind of people who are undecided, to make them believe that you have more physical power than you actually have. No difference between Hamas, in some instances. However, in this instance, Hamas is ISIS, period, end of story, and they are going to get treated like ISIS because they have chosen war, straight up war, state versus terrorist actor, and it's going to have the necessary result. Here in the United States, we don't know why they're biding their time. Many of them are cowards, but they like to play dress up and get their guns and raise the price of ammunition. But at some point, and I warned this in my book, these people, there's probably a group in there, we don't know who they are, but they're probably thinking they can get away with something similar.
Yeah.
Oh, one last point, Steph. All this crazy talk about tens of thousands of Hamas members are crossing the southern border and coming into the United States to do this same suicide attack is crazy.
Thank you.
The 9/11 hijackers flew in on an airliner as welcome guests.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And by the way, credit goes to Malcolm Nance for Vanilla ISIS and Meal Team 6. So, all right. Malcolm, thanks so much for your generous time, and giving us so much time today. All right.
Subscribe to my Substack.
All right. Yes, please.
Yes,
and Black Man Spy, the podcast. Love you. All right. Oh, hi. I'm here with sexy liberal John Fugelsang wearing my Los Angeles sexy liberal shirt. Oh, my God. We have an LA show coming up October 21st. But how else could you see it, John?
How else could you see it? I'm so glad you asked. For a limited time, you can see the show live via pay-per-view if you go to sexyliberal.com. All the laughs, you'll miss nothing.
I can stream it from all around the world?
All around the world, in your car, while you're driving. Watch it at home.
Sexyliberal.com, yeah.